Ever wanted to peek behind the curtain of your social media feed? Well, today, we're going to dig into a really clever new way researchers are doing just that. They're basically hacking the algorithm to see how it's really shaping our world.
You know what I'm talking about, that endless scroll. Updates, news, opinions, all supposedly picked out just for you. But have you ever actually stopped and wondered, is this thing bringing us together, or is it maybe pushing us further apart? It's a huge question, and for the longest time, it's been a nearly impossible one to answer scientifically.
So, the heart of the problem is this. The algorithms running the show are a total black box. They're secret, the companies own them, and they're changing all the time. For a researcher trying to figure out their effect on something like political polarization, well, it's kind of like trying to study a car's engine from a mile away. You can see the car is moving, sure, but you have absolutely no idea what's happening under the hood.
And that problem? It's only getting worse. The platforms are slamming the door shut on the tools researchers used to use, things like APIs. You can think of them as digital pipelines for data. This shift towards secrecy has pretty much left researchers completely in the dark, and at the exact moment we need to understand these platforms the most,
This puts researchers in a really tough spot. I mean, if you can't see the algorithm and you can't control the algorithm, how on earth are you supposed to measure what it's doing to us out here in the real world? It's a classic dilemma.
So how have they tried to get around this before? Well, you've got a few options. One is just asking people to deactivate their accounts. Yeah, it's realistic, but you have no control. You can't figure out what exactly caused any change. Then there are lab experiments. Here, you have all the control in the world, but it's totally artificial. It's nothing like your real personalized feed. The dream, of course, has always been to work with the platforms, but that almost never happens. And even when it does, they hold all the cards.
But what if you could find another way in, a totally new approach? Well, a groundbreaking study by a team led by a researcher named Picardi did exactly that. They figured out how to run a real-world experiment right inside a person's social media feed, and they did it without ever needing the platform's permission. They hacked the feed for science.
Okay, so first things first, they had to define exactly what they were looking for. They zeroed in on something they call AAPA. That stands for anti-democratic attitudes and partisan animosity. Look, this isn't just about disagreeing. This is the nasty stuff, the content that shows real contempt or hostility for the other political side. That's the stuff they wanted to see if they could turn up or down.
And the method they came up with was just so elegant. Participants just installed a simple browser extension. Then, while they were scrolling their actual feed on X, an AI was working in the background, scanning all the posts in real time. It was specifically trained to spot that ASAPA content. And here's the magic part. The extension would then, completely invisibly, re-rank the feed, either showing them more of that hostile content or less of it, or just leaving it alone. It all depended on what experimental group they were in.
So the method was a success. They proved they could actually go in and tweak people's information diets in the wild. But that's not the biggest question, is it? The real question is, did it actually change how people felt? Okay, let's get into the results.
The effect they discovered can pretty much be boiled down to this one number: 2 out of 100.
So what does that mean? It means that when the browser extension dialed down the amount of hostile partisan stuff people saw, their feelings of warmth for the opposing party went up by 2 points. And when they saw more of it, their warmth went down by 2 points. Now, it's a small effect for sure, but it was statistically real. They proved it. Changing the content in the feed can, in fact, change our attitudes.
But this brings up a really, really important question. It's one the researchers themselves are asking. Is a 2-point shift enough to actually matter in the real world? I mean, if your opinion of the other side goes from a 4 out of 100 to a 6, does that really change how you're going to vote or how you talk to your neighbor? That part's still a pretty open question.
Now, you might be thinking, hold on a minute, didn't that huge, massive study with Meta find that algorithms had pretty much no effect on polarization? And you'd be totally right. So what gives? Why did this study find an effect when that one didn't? Well, it seems to come down to a really crucial difference: source versus content. The Meta study mostly changed the source of information, like it showed you fewer posts from like-minded friends. This new study on X targeted the content itself, the actual angry language in the posts. And it looks like tweaking what you see might be a lot more powerful than just tweaking who you see it from.
And that right there leads us to the biggest takeaway from all of this. That 2-point shift is definitely interesting. But the real breakthrough, the real game changer, it's the method. It's the tool they built to find it in the first place.
So why is this tool such a big deal? Well, for starters,
Researchers don't have to go hat in hand and beg the platforms for access anymore. They can run these experiments on their own, on any platform that works in a web browser. That means they can finally start asking questions like, hey, is that thing we found on Facebook back in 2020 still true on TikTok today? It really opens up the field and lets them test all sorts of ideas that the platforms themselves would probably never want to try.
So, when you step back, you see this isn't just one study with one little result. It's a blueprint. It's a powerful, new toolkit for researchers to finally start keeping pace with our insane, constantly changing digital world. It's a form of independent oversight that we have desperately been missing.
And that leaves us with one last and kind of provocative thought. This technology proves that it's possible for some third party to get in there and manipulate what you see in your feed. So, if academic researchers can build this for the sake of science, who else might be building similar tools? And what are their purposes? It's a really powerful new capability, and now that the cat's out of the bag, it's something we're all going to need to keep an eye on.